In this video, I'm going to build this little box made entirely out of scrap materials. I got some drawers full of scrap materials. I got some piles. That's all 1/4 inch, different types of domestic and exotic woods, stuff left over from several years of doing these sort of projects. So this is totally 100% scrap. And so stay tuned and I'll show you how I put it together and how I cut that box. I just want to real quickly cover material for this box I'm trying to make. What I actually did is I cut up a bunch of my scrap. You see there's a few pieces I have left over. Literally just pull scrap. I've got drawers full of scrap and piles full of scrap. And these are actually from a little bit larger pieces, but not much. But anyway, as you can see, I had some larger pieces like this. And that's what I did. I laminated these. I made them 1.25 inches thick. And I didn't really try to make a little pattern or anything. And this one, you got 7 of these little short ones, and that one line right there, and some of them are almost completely across. And you see I mixed and matched them so I could come out with about a 5.5 inch length, which time I cut 4 blocks out of it, allowing for the kerf of the saw, and I'm using a scroll saw to do that. I get this many blocks, and we'll cut 16 of these, and I'm going to try to glue 2 layers together, and then 2 more, and then glue the 2 layers together, and see what kind of a pattern I can get. And I'm going to finish this with something that won't put any kind of dye tint or dye in the wood. I want it to look as natural as possible. But that's the process I'm using to get the material for the box. I'm just making 4 of these blanks. Like I say, I've already cut that one. And what I'm doing is I'm using my marking gauge here to mark the block size that I want. And I make that mark, then I cut it, and then I make another mark and I cut it on down the line. And this is how much material I had left out of this one block. So I'm going to continue this. I'm going to cut these 3 and get them cut into 4 blocks, get them sanded where they're pretty much smooth. Then I'm going to glue these blocks together where I've got 2 sides. In other words, one corner will be perfectly lined up, and then I'll sand the others to match if I need any sanding to match them up. And then I'll glue a layer of 8 together and another layer of 8 together, and have 2 smooth sides on those, and then glue those together. And from that, I'm going to cut a top and a bottom, cut out the center of the box. And I haven't decided yet on the pattern, so we don't have a pattern to look at yet. I'm just kind of doing this on the fly and by the seat of my pants. So I'll go ahead and cut these up and start gluing them together, and then we'll decide what we'll do with that. So I've done a lot of cutting and a lot of gluing and a lot of sanding. Sanding in between. Get 2 blocks together, sand them, the 3rd one sand it, 4th one sand it, so on and so forth. Got them all together here, kind of in the pattern I want. Plan on this being the lid and this being the bottom. So my next step is I'm going to take this to the table saw and I'm going to cut off a top and a bottom. That'll determine the success or failure of this project, if I'm able to make this cut properly without messing it up. I should be able to. I'm going to cut it slowly and carefully, but hopefully I'll be back in a minute with the top and the bottom cut off, and then I'll cut out the interior. I'm going to make a pattern on there, cut out an interior piece, and then start gluing it back together and putting the lid and finishing it off. So I'm going to take it to the table saw, see if I'm going to be able to do this, and my project will continue on. Well, I'm going to call that a success. There's the lid. That's going to be the lid. And then there's the bottom. I'm just going to glue that back on. These turned out well. Got a little burn mark on the body, but I'm going to cut most of that out, so that's not going to matter too much. Now what I got to do, I'm going to figure out what kind of layout I want on my box, and cut that out and glue the bottom back on, and then figure out how to attach the lid and finish it. So I've decided to keep this simple. I don't know if you can see that or not. I just used my marking gauge and marked a 1/4 inch all the way around. I'm going to round it off a little bit. I'm going to round the outside of the box too, and probably round the top of the lid and all that. You see these marks, these aren't really burn marks. You see that dark wood, the blade carried that dark wood across. It does that in a scroll saw too, it just does it worse with this table saw. But most of this will go away, and I'll sand that a little bit. And then we'll figure out how to attach the lid. I'm thinking I've got some little hinges. I'm not sure that I do, but I'll check that and see if we can just hinge that lid and go from there. But right now I'm going to drill a hole in here, cut this interior out, and we'll glue the bottom back on it. So what we've done today is I've cut the top and the bottom off. This is the lid, this is the bottom. Made my own little pattern. I kind of drew that on there. Decided not to get too fancy with that. My main purpose on this box is trying to get the effect to come out on the inside that I want. So leave a little more open to get a little better look at how that's going to line out. Got some more sanding to do in there. Then I'm going to glue the bottom back on. I'm going to use this as the lid underneath to hold the lid in place. Then I'm going to finish it with linseed oil. I want to use something with no tint to it. The Danish oil has a light walnut tint. It darkens it in the areas where you have ingrain. It soaks a lot up, and the more it soaks up, the more tint it gets, and it makes those too dark. I want them a little brighter so I can see the contrast of the patchwork. So what I got to do now is a little more sanding. I'm going to glue the bottom on, and then I'm going to glue this on the top and get it lined out, and then I'll finish it, and we'll see if it gives me the effect that I'm really looking for. Well, so far so good. The bottom is glued on. Got a little bit of a seam there. I may try to do something with that, but I'm not too worried about it right now. Getting the effect that I kind of wanted on the inside. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue this on just right there. I'm going to get that lined up. So what I'm going to do is drop the bottom part of it in. And then I'll put me something on there to hold that up, make it a little bit proud to glue it on. So let me round up something and we'll do that.
You know, I never found any bread in the freezer.
There's pretty much the finished product. That's kind of what I was looking for. It's the effect I was wanting. Kind of got it inside the box too. That's really what I was looking for. I wanted to show up through the inside of the box. So I'm gonna call that a success. It could have been better done. But I like it. It came out pretty good, considering that every single piece of wood I used in it was a scrap piece. It was a long process of putting all that together and cutting and sanding and getting them to go together. Don't know that I want to do that again, at least not in that particular way, but it was an experiment, and I kind of got the effect I want. I'm going to still do some stuff like this, but a little different from that. I thank you for watching this. If you like that sort of thing, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And I'll try to dig some more ideas up out of the depths of my mind. And I may do some more stuff with some scrap. I've still got a lot of scrap, and this is a good way to use some of it up. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.